Hello and welcome to week 6 of the 11 Plus English Club's Breakfast Time Vocabulary. So, thank you so much if you've been following along over the last few weeks. If you have, that means you've already learned 50 new words with us. So, if this is the first time you're watching, make sure you go back to the beginning of this playlist, dive in to week 1, part 1, and have a go at learning all the words that we've been covering over the past few weeks. Now, this week we're going to be diving into a new theme for our Monday video. We're going to be focusing on this idea of like old fashion, almost as in sort of like clothes and material and things like that. Now, again, the reason we chose this is because we know that when you're looking at lots of older style texts, they refer to things that maybe we either don't use anymore or have kind of fallen out of fashion a little bit. So in our day-to-day lives, we might not come across it and might not learn about it. So this video is going to really help you with that. So let's dive into word number 1. Okay, so word number 1 is the adjective threadbare. So if something is threadbare, it essentially means that it's a bit worn out and frayed, normally due to like overuse. So if we were going to use it in a sentence, I would say something like, the threadbare rug needed replacing after years of wear and tear. So what that essentially means is you imagine, and it doesn't have to be a rug, you could use it to describe clothing and things like that, but essentially it's been used loads and it's almost become like a bit bobbly and maybe all the fibres are sticking up, so it just looks a little bit like old and shabby. That would be a good way of using it as like a synonym as well. Okay, word number 2 is tailor. Now this could be used as a noun or a verb, but for the purposes of this video, I'm going to talk to you about it as a noun. So a tailor is essentially somebody who makes clothes, normally like bespoke, so it's designed and fitted for that particular person. So if we were using it in a sentence, we could say something like, the tailor took precise measurements to create a custom-fitting suit for his customer. So the idea is, like I say, everything's kind of like uniquely made to that person or that customer that's coming into the shop. The next word is another noun, and this word is haberdashery. So just check out how you spell this word. So haberdashery is essentially something that refers to little items or sort of objects that we use that relate to sewing, so like stitching and creating garments and materials and things like that. Also, in a slightly more historical use, a haberdashery could also refer to a place that would maybe like sell gentlemen's or man's clothing. In today's sort of modern world, haberdashery, as I say, more refers to the idea of like items that we use for sewing. So if we were going to use it in a sentence, we could say, she bought various buttons and ribbons from the haberdashery to decorate and embellish her dress. So the fourth word we're going to look at is now an adverb, and the word is grandiosely. So essentially, this is referring to the idea of something that's been done in like a very grand, almost like kind of showing off type of way. Like often it's quite impressive, maybe it's a bit over the top, maybe a bit ambitious. But it's this idea that it's something like a little bit sort of in your face, like the way something's being done. Like you almost can't help but notice it. So if I was going to use it in a sentence, I would say, he entered the ballroom grandiosely with a tuxedo and a cape that billowed out behind him. So the idea is there in that sentence, the context of it is I'm using the adverb grandiosely to emphasize that like he's making this really big entrance, everyone's turning and looking at him. It's really sort of eye-catching. He's got this like big cape billowing out behind him. Okay, and the last word we're going to talk about is the adjective formal. Now, in English, we talk about formal quite a lot when we're talking about sort of like tone of writing. So like formal writing versus informal writing. And that's a really important thing to kind of get our head around in terms of like how we express ourselves in our writing, in our speaking, and all sorts of different ways. But of course, like so many words in English, it's used in slightly different contexts as well. So for the purpose of almost like fashion, what we're talking about in all sort of clothing, as we're talking about in this video here, formal essentially means that you're kind of normally like you're dressed quite smart. You're following like a convention or an etiquette or like a way of doing things that's seen as like sort of socially acceptable. So if you were going to use it in a sentence, you would say something like, the guests attended a formal dinner party in their finest attire. Or even you could say it in a sentence with something like, the guests were asked to dress formally. So of course that's a little bit more of an adverb there. But essentially what it is it's talking about kind of wearing like smart clothing appropriate for the time. So well done for having a go and learning those words. So just a quick recap, these are the 5 words that we have talked about in this video today, and you can see them all on the screen here next to me. So make sure if you haven't copied them down, that you hit pause, scribble them down, make sure you've got those definitions. Also, if you look in the comments, we've also written them there so you can copy and paste them, so it's all super easy for you. But remember, the main way to practice this and get it super glued in your head is to either comment on the video on YouTube and have a go at putting it in a sentence, or over inside the 11 Plus English Club, we have got quizzes to test your understanding, help you learn more synonyms, help you learn how to use it in sentences. And we've also recently started introducing creative writing challenges to help you practice using these words more. So if you enjoy writing sentences in the comments below, inside the 11 Plus English Club, we've taken it to the next level and given you full-on creative writing challenges to add to this as well. So remember, if you want to come join us, the link is always in the comments below and in the video description, and you can come and dive in today and join us. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on Wednesday.